Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Still working on trying to get Frank so he can get sound in, but we're going to get started. We got the great pleasure of having Mark Sebastian here with us. Very good option strategies, so I'm not going to take up any more time. Mark, welcome to the Candlestick Forum, and Frank, hopefully we can get you on sound here. Take her
We
away.
will, because he's the. Is that you, Frank? I think I can hear you, kind of a little bit. Nah, I could for a second. I thought.
Yeah, I could hear him just slightly. See if
Just hear
his
you
scroll
slightly for
bar.
a second.
Yeah, see if
So
his
over your
scroll
microphone,
bar.
if you turn it all the way up, the sensitivity to, I had you for a second. Oh well. Try the iPad.
If he hovers his
All right, he's gonna try that.
cursor over the microphone, there should be a scroll thing above it to give him volume.
Mm-hmm. It's too bad, folks, because he's got a good voice and he's a handsome man, folks. You guys are missing out. But I'll get some of the necessities out of the way. Can everyone see the slides that I'm showing right now? Do I need to do I need to do anything for people to be able to see the slides? All right, you can hear the slides, you can see me. All right. So awesome. So we are going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight and a lot of good stuff. And we are here to teach you and educate you. We're here to help you become a better trader by teaching and educating. What you're about to hear is not tax advice. It's not legal advice. It is not investment advice. So we're going to present you with a ton of good information. But if you go out and do something, right, that is on you. That is your fault if it doesn't work out, right? We're not here offering investment advice. We're here to teach and educate, all right? And that's why we're here. But I got to tell you, we've got a really good one for you guys today, all right? Now, it's titled 2021 Trading Secrets Every Investor Needs to Know. It's about appointments and how appointments matter. And you're saying appointments, you mean like don't be late to my doctor's appointment? No. We mean we're going to have a brand new administration in about 6 days. And we have a ton of information about what is about to happen, who's being put in, what they really mean, and what they're bringing to the table, right? So the election is over, right? The challenges are over. Everything is over, right? The Electoral College has been put in, right? It's been certified by Congress. Joe Biden, unless he dies, is going to be the president in 6 days, right? There's a new sheriff town, and he's bringing a whole new posse, except it's also an old posse that's been in a lot of other administrations. So got a mix of new and old that we're going to go through. We're going to talk about who is going to win and lose in the Biden area, and there's going to be some ones that surprise you there. Changes coming in 2021 and how to take advantage of it. All right. And then I have my COVID vaccine bonus trade that I'm going to give you. It's actually a Biden trade and a COVID trade, and I'm going to give that to you. Frank, I don't quite hear you. Are you? Is it still not working? I don't know. Are you talking? Yeah, I don't hear him. Well, he'll figure it out. So, we'll get it figured out. Frank may need a reboot. Yeah, I don't know. This is a weird. The webinato can be a little tricky, but what I'm going to do, while you're trying to figure it out, I'm going to introduce you guys. I'm going to introduce me and you, and then by the time you get back, you'll be able to walk through everything. Guys, I've got a. You might need to unmute your mic on your phone. I've got me. All right, so let me tell you about myself. I was a floor trader on the American Stock Exchange and the SIBO for about 10 years. I've been running a hedge fund and managing money for, worst case, I'll just have him put him on speaker and have him talk into the microphone here. It will be a blast. And now I run Option Pit. I am pretty much considered one of the foremost VIX experts. There are about 3 or 4 people in the world that will publicly speak to the VIX at the level that I can. There's myself, Russell, a few other people. I was trading the VIX, and I was there when the VIX options were invented. I worked for the firm that literally started trading VIX options. They owned the DPM, the whole 9 yards. All right, so my guest, when we get to him, and here's why you want to hear him. His name. All right, yes. His name is Frank Gregory. He's a handsome guy, folks. But more importantly, he did a bunch of time on Wall Street, but he's a lawyer. All right, and he is from the DC area, born in the DC area. His dad worked for the government. He used to have Supreme Court justices in his house for coffee. Right? Am I wrong here, Frank? He'd have Supreme Court justices in his house for coffee. And this is interesting. He actually worked for, and this is where I think you guys are getting somebody really special today. So he worked for the chairman of the, as an intern for, as a clerk, law clerk, for the chairman of the House Judiciary. And guy was from Alabama, forget his name. But he actually was working for this senator when Antonin Scalia was going through his confirmation process. So he went around to different senators and sat in the office while they asked and interviewed Justice Scalia about all kinds of things, a whole host of things. And he happened to be sitting in one Senator Joe Biden's office when Senator Biden was interviewing Antonin Scalia. So if we can't get it to work, let's try this. We're just going to put you on speaker, and I'll put you right next to the microphone.
Perfect.
All right. So you're going to need to mute me. You're going to need to mute me over there. All right.
Perfect.
All right. So you need to mute your computer now.
Let's try that.
All right, how's that, everybody? I know it's not perfect, but it's the best I can do. Can you guys hear him?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you? All right, it works. All right. So I know it's not perfect, but it's the best we're going to be able to do. So, Frank, did I get anything wrong about your bio?
Duke Law worked on the lawyer in DC for a decade, and then went to came to Wall Street, and I've been up here for over 20 years.
Oh, well, and don't leave out that you did go to what has to easily be the third best undergraduate university in the greater Philadelphia area.
St. Canisius of
So Frank and I both went to Villanova, so it's like a little inside joke. Because there's, Villanova, then there's UPenn, and then, you make an argument about Haverford and Villanova and one. Anyway, so let's get down to business because, Frank, you have a ton to unpack for us today in terms of what is about to happen, all these appointments, all these different people. So let's get down to business.
All right, tell you what, I am now. I'm going to get out of this and see if we can get me on my iPad.
Okay.
Which it looks like I am.
All right. So I can actually cover this first thing, and one of the things that I want everyone to be aware of is that people were worried. Oh, what if Biden gets in? What's going to happen to the stock market? Well, markets like certainty, and we have gone up. And with more certainty and with more of a rally, we have just gone up. And so, a lot of people worry about markets, and we're going to dig into this some more. But since Biden got elected, it has been a one-way rally. We were at about 3,500. We're now at about 3,800. We're not messing around.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, if I got my numbers correct, that's up almost 14% since the election.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah, that's correct. That's a really nice rally. But one thing remains for sure, right? What's still out there, folks?
Volatility.
Volatility. All right, you gonna try on your iPad unmuting yourself? Let's see.
It didn't work on the iPad.
Oh, really?
The webinar program did not like the iPad at all.
All right. Well, it doesn't like you. I don't know what you did to it, but it hates you. So here we are. We're at volatility squared.
You know what that means, Mark? What I've found over the years, and it really struck me when I came to, when I really looked at what was happening in DC and what was going on in the marketplace up in Wall Street, what I found was the two mirrored each other to a very great extent. When volatility happened in DC, volatility tended to happen in the marketplace. Not an exact science, but pretty regularly you can track the volatility. So I named it volatility squared. And when things calm down in DC, things tend to calm down in the marketplace, or at least in the markets. And if you look, a lot of volatility in DC building up to the election, a whole lot. Election hits in, things start calming down a little bit. You see that drop in volatility. Well, the last 2 weeks, I'd say, have been volatile again. You see that spike back up. It's certainly smoothed out a little bit. It will. It always does. I think we're pretty sure, as you said, Biden's going to be inaugurated on the 20th, and hopefully we'll get some smoothing out after that.
So the election is over. It's finally over.
It's finally over. They'll be sworn in on the 20th. It was probably the wildest January 6th I've ever seen in my life. But I'll have to point out what happened to the market on January 6th. It went up again.
Yeah, it did. That is definitely the wildest January 6th, I would say. So now, what else have we got?
Well, I'll call it impeachment part 2. they're moving again. On Tuesday, the House voted to have Mike Pence invoke the 25th Amendment. Pence refused. So yesterday, as we're all aware, the House voted 232 to 197 to impeach on a single article alleging incitement of insurrection for the breach at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. All Democrats and 10 Republicans of the House voted to impeach. Interestingly, there are a couple of records were broken by this particular impeachment. It was accomplished in a single 7-hour session, which makes it the fastest impeachment in U.S. history. And it was the first time that a president's been impeached twice.
Frank,
Okay.
let me jump in. Mark, can you turn your speaker or your microphone down? Let's see if that equals out. You are loud and Frank is soft. Let's see if you turn your microphone down a bit, whether that equals this thing out.
Yeah, no, we're getting there, guys. We sorry that the opening was a little bit of a mess. Sound issues have really held us back. But so, yeah, I think the question is like, what they really want to do is stop him from running again, right?
Yeah, that's the main point. Look, I would argue that this is not a very unifying action. I tend to try and be apolitical, but I think just looking at it very objectively, it's not a very unifying action as we move towards. We've got just a handful of days left, but again, as you pointed out, what their goal is to prevent Trump from potentially running again in 4 years, and that's the goal, and that's why when they did this when they did the impeachment, they hoping for was that the Senate will vote to confirm the impeachment, find him guilty. There would then be a second Senate vote. That's got to be by a 2/3 margin. There would then be a simple majority vote to prevent him from holding office again. Now, what they did include in the article of impeachment was reference to the 14th Amendment, which was the post-Civil War amendment that was used to prevent Confederate soldiers from holding office in the reunification of the Union. So they're trying to prevent it. They're trying to hold him out of office. What we are seeing is, Mitch McConnell has already said that he's not going to reconvene the Senate until January 19th, one day before Trump leaves office. So I just don't think there's going to be enough time to have a Senate trial. It's certainly not going to be a quick 7-hour process like we had in the House. They would go for full testimony, and then it's unclear. The law is unclear if he can be impeached after leaving office. I would expect that if they try and make that move, go to SCOTUS for determination as to whether or not they can even proceed on that front.
All right. So,
but I mean, in order, look, what we're hoping is, Trump said he has promised an orderly transition. We'll see if that holds. Certainly would help the markets calm down.
yes, that would certainly help the markets calm down. So, what do you got here? We've got full regime change. Full regime change.
Full regime change. Well, we turned, in very quick order, the House turned over from Republican to Democrat, and because of the double election in Georgia, that the Republicans lost both those races, the Senate has also now gone effectively to the Dems. It's 50-50, but with Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker, the Democrats effectively hold both houses of Congress now. That's going to allow for a very aggressive agenda. What we're going to see is, which we'll dive into a little bit, is what's being telegraphed. We can listen to what Biden says. We can listen to what his team says. But we can also look at what his cabinet picks are. And what we're going to find is that they're really bringing back the Obama-era status quo between K Street and Wall Street. And you're going to see a more globalist agenda, and you're going to see a lot of focus on infrastructure with a green energy bent. Biden said, the first thing that he wants to do is rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. He's going to do that, and that will drive a lot of decisions. I put this here, Dem 13.2, and the reason I did that is, if you look back in history, when the Democrats control the White House, the Senate, and Congress, the S&P averages 13.2% during the years where there is that three-way control. The good news is it's not the highest S&P return, and actually the best is a Democratic
President,
and then a split Congress. That's the best mix that you can have from a return standpoint. However, this particular mix will give you the highest average GDP during that tenure. So a little bit of a trade-off, and you can understand why. And I think you're going to see it again because you're going to see massive spending coming off of massive spending, and that will certainly help drive GDP, particularly in the short term.
all right. Unity schmunity. What do you got here?
Well, I'm just saying, you want to hope that we're going to work together. Senator Manchin from West Virginia said that we should work together. Chuck Schumer said, buckle up. It's our moral imperative to get a whole lot done. And on the congressional side, Rep. Jai Paul said, victory in Georgia, means transformative change across America. And it's just going to show that, look, they've got all the cards right now. The Democrats have all the cards. They're going to push forward, and I think they're going to have a very aggressive and quick agenda.
But here's the king, right?
Markets always go up. No matter who's the president, we are we are a pre-market capitalist society with an incredible infrastructure, incredible base of corporations, incredible stock market. The market tended to go up, and it might be choppy. There might be some things that drive pockets, but look, you're a trader, Mark. I think you'd be the first one to say choppy is good. That presents opportunity, presents a way to make money.
Yeah, and and I think people are surprised, right? The losing years are Hoover and Bush were the two presidents that lost money, right?
Yes.
And Carter. No, market went up under Carter.
In the Bush years, a lot of people made money.
Yes, for sure. So now here's the important part, right? You're saying sprint to the midterms. Why?
Yeah, so I think there's going to be a rush. We're going to expect a flurry of activity in the next 24 months. Like I said, the House in particular is very emboldened to pass aggressive legislation. They know that they got the Senate now. There's an old saying on Capitol Hill, the Senate is where great ideas from the House go to die. You can argue whether or not the ideas are good or bad. I'm not here to decide that, but what we're going to find is a lot of ideas that were probably bad on their face that we're not going to get very far in the Senate are going to be aggressively pushed now, at least entertained by the Senate Democratic majority. So you're going to have a big push, and the reason is they want to get as much done as they can before the midterm elections. If you look back in history, there's only been 7 times when the President's Party gained seats in the House or the Senate in a midterm election, and only twice in history did they gain seats in both. So typically, there's a good chance if you hold one of the houses at a midterm and you're the president, your party is going to lose one of those two chambers in the midterm elections. Since World War II, President's Party's losses just loses an average of 26 House seats, 4 Senate seats, both well within the current spread between the two parties. So, if I'm the Democratic leadership, I'm looking going forward. There's a good chance we're going to flip in the midterms. We got to push hard, get as much done as we can. It's just practical politics.
Yeah. So now here's let's get to the meat of what we're discussing, because there's because these picks, I think, say a lot about the agenda and what's going to perform and what isn't, and who's going to win and who's going to lose. So let's.
Yeah, and look, we're going to be informed by the people. Not only there's been a lot of statements by the administration, a lot of the upcoming administration, a lot of statements by people who work for Biden, but then also we can start looking at his picks. And I'll hit a couple of high-level ones. I put Ron Klain on here. He's the White House Chief of Staff, and the reason I put him on here is he is a true Beltway insider. He was Biden's Chief of Staff when Biden was the Vice President, and he knows how to get things done. So if the thesis is that they're going to be pushing hard to get all these nominees pushed through and confirmed by the Senate, and then start pushing on their agenda items, Ron's a guy who knows the game, knows how to get it done as quickly as possible. So I don't think you're going to have a situation where it's going to flounder in the opening weeks of the administration. Certainly, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she is a true DC insider. She's been I always talk about the revolving door between DC and Wall Street. She's gone through that door so many times. I'm not sure it's spinning hard when she comes in. But she is a person who has held all three key economic positions now. She'll be Treasury Secretary. She was the head of the Fed, and she was the head of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. So she's held all three of those key positions. Again, someone who understands the game. She also understands Wall Street. Heck, she spent the last couple of years making millions of dollars giving speeches to some of the big banks. So she understands, which is ironic, seeing that she when she went out, she was considered one of the biggest enemies of the big banks. But
I mean, it's interesting. She's the only person ever to hold all three positions.
Correct.
And the first female Treasury Secretary. So cheers for that. But that's really interesting, and the fact that she's been the chairman of the Fed and she's now the Treasury Secretary, are we like to call it the tread, right? The Treasury Fed, the tread. And there's going to be something. There's going to be a lot about that. Now, here's an interesting one: Pete Buttigieg, Transportation Secretary, because.
Well, he was the mayor of the largest city in the U.S., right? So.
Well. Being from Chicago, the South Shore does in fact go take drunk Notre Dame fans home back to Chicago on 5 Saturdays a year, and it gets people from O'Hare to South Bend that go to Notre Dame. They got an airport to fly rich people from Chicago to Notre Dame, so they got some stuff. But this is interesting though, because how involved is the Transportation Secretary with things like an infrastructure spend?
Well, look, it's going to be heavy because we are going to see, which we'll get into, massive infrastructure spending, massive green spending around infrastructure, and he's certainly someone who can get on board with that. Look, I thought if he was going to come into the administration, I think there's some other posts, even on the on the defense side, that he probably was more qualified for, but he got the position of Secretary of Transportation. So a lot of that infrastructure spending, the $2.5 to $3 trillion of infrastructure spending that the Biden administration is talking about is going to directly impact transportation. They'd like to see massive upticks in rail, massive upticks in green transport. So he will be pivotal. And I threw him in here because there are some old line players in here, and heck, Janet Yellen, she is filling her junior secretary positions with all insiders from the Obama and the Clinton administration. I have been working at BlackRock and other big houses over the last couple of years. So there's a lot of entrenched folks coming in here. A couple of them aren't going to make it. Neera Tanden, who's going to be the head of the Office of Management Budget. The folks on the Republican side have said there's not a chance in heck of her being confirmed. So we'll see if everybody gets through. She was described as her best quality was being a prolific Twitter user. So
I'm not that great at Twitter, so I'm jealous.
But you got folks, and I got to tell you, the AOCs of the world are not happy. She has described the picks being made as horrible, that it is just dozens of insiders, and she is not pleased. So you're still going to get that. Look, the good news is, what you know and what you don't know. What we are going to know is that we're going to have a lot of kind of back to normal to some degree in D.C. So, Commerce Secretary, another huge post, a 55,000 person administrative body in D.C. The pick there is Gina Raimondo, governor of Rhode Island. And this is a very key post because this agency touches everything from tech policy to climate change to promoting American industry. And she's pretty moderate. She's considered a moderate Democrat. She's got a background in the financial industry. She actually came out of the Bain Capital route and worked under a subsidiary of Bain before starting her own venture capital firm. So she understands. I think she's got a pretty good handle on the numbers, pretty good handle on economic issues. While she was, as the governor of Rhode Island, she cut taxes, eliminated regulations in support of businesses, particularly small businesses. She compromised with the unions in the end, but she had some big clashes in reaching those compromises. So she's not afraid to tangle it up. She's not afraid of optics. She wants to get done what she thinks is right for the business community.
Right. So they got a pro-business commerce secretary.
Yep. Which I think is positive, and also keep in mind, commerce is going to be one of the leads in going and attacking China. So, or maybe not attacking, but dealing with China. Now, this one's kind of on the other side. Labor Secretary choice, Marty Walsh. He's current mayor of Boston. And as the press release from the Biden-Harris team said, he's going to usher in a new era of worker power. He's the two-term mayor of Boston. Grew up in the labor's union, Local 223. Eventually becoming its president. He then led the Boston Metropolitan District Buildings Trade Council. You'll see an ongoing theme with me with climate. He is the chairman of the Climate Mayors, which is a group of 470 mayors across the country that advocate for climate policy. And by the way, not you don't have to go backwards, but keep in mind, Commerce also oversees the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Again, a key player in the discussions around
climate change
and climate. So, Marty Walsh is going to be, I think, very activist head of this administration. You're going to see a lot of peel back of some regulations that were put into place during the Trump administration, and then you're also going to have, in tandem with him, you're going to see a flip in the National Labor Relations Board. The National Labor Relations Board, as you know, is made up of 5 people. They're on 5-year rotating schedules, so every year someone rolls off. Currently, there's only 4 members. There's an opening. 3 of those members are Republican. 1 is a Democrat, but the Republican is rolling off in August of this year. So the assumption is that by August, the NLRB is going to flip to a Democrat-dominated body, and that's going to be pivotal because you're going to see a lot of regulation. You're going to see a lot coming out. What am I looking to expect? One of the things that Biden has been very vocal about, the fact he wants to make it part of the next stimulus package is a mandated federal $15 minimum wage. So you're going to see they're going to try and push the minimum wage hard. They want it across the board. I call it a one-size-fit-all regulation, whether you're talking about minimum wage or really anything else. It's not going to depend on if you live in Manhattan, Boise, wherever it is that you live. It's all going to apply to everything. And that's going to be tough on some small businesses. That's going to be very hard on some segments of the economy. You're also going to see a lot of forced unionization of small businesses. And one of the ways they're going to do that is they're really going to go after the independent contractor model. Much like they try to do in California with Uber and Lyft, they're going to really try and go after that. And they want to start creating, instead of very, very broad collective bargaining units, what they call micro units. And they'll allow unionization of smaller groups little more disparate groups, and they're going to really try and unionization is a huge priority for this administration.
Yeah, I cannot stress how important the independent contractor model being attacked, and really the franchisee model being attacked as well, right? Is yeah, that is a serious issue, and it is a huge issue. And we're going to talk about, I think, a couple of stocks that I think maybe people haven't thought about yet that are at real risk, and some stocks that are at crazy all-time highs. And I'm going to show you a couple trades around those that are a little bit scary. So let's talk tax policy, then we'll look at some specific industries and sectors that we think are going to win and lose.
Big agenda items require big dollars, which means taxes are going up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of the first things that happens in this administration is going to go up early, and really everyone's going to get hit. Corporate taxes are going to go up, dividends, capital gains, individual taxes are going up. There will be a couple of benefits. I think SALT's going to come back. So, for homeowners in wealthy areas, that'll be a plus. One of the things that I also think will benefit when the corporate tax rate was cut, it really disincentivized REITs. I think REITs and some of those investment vehicles are going to do very well again if those rates tick back up a little bit. So there will be some unintended consequences that will benefit parts of the economy. But look, you got to pay. This has to be paid for in the minds of DC, and they're going to raise taxes. If you're an individual earning over $400,000, you're going to get hit extremely hard by this administration.
All right, so let's look at these appointments, and then we'll talk about some trades.
Yeah, so energy and climate. Michael Regan, we really don't know much about him. He's North Carolina's environmental chief, pretty middle of the road from what I've read and seen. I don't expect him to be what I call an activist head, but he's going to have some people working with him and underneath him that are. John Kerry's been brought in as a special presidential envoy for climate. This is a brand new position that Biden has created for Kerry. He's going to be highly activist. Gina McCarthy, White House climate czar, former EPA chief, and current president of the National Resources Defense Council. She and Kerry are going to be hand in hand driving green policy. Jennifer Granholm is going to oversee electric cars and green energy priorities. And the one that I find interesting is Deb Haaland. She's the first Native American to lead the Department of the Interior, and that's the department that determines policy for federally owned resources, including resources on tribal land. So you might expect to see some walking back of permits for drilling, particularly fracking on certain federal and tribal lands. I don't see a full-blown ban on fracking. Texas is, the economy is making, is heavily reliant on fracking, and Texas is one of those states that, the DNC would like to turn red to blue, and they don't want to alienate too many people down there. So I don't see a full-blown ban on it, but in certain parts of the country, you're probably going to see some walking back of current allowances.
Well, props to the Interior Department putting a Native American who's responsible for what happens to Native American land. So good for them there. But one of the things that's interesting, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to point this one out. All right, and I'm going to talk about this in more detail. Who's been paying attention to oil? All right, has oil been going up or down? It's been going up, right? Why? Well, we've got the dollar getting punched. But the reason why oil is going up, the reason why energy is going up, is because of these appointments. All right, they're going to try to choke off supply to raise the price of oil. Why? Why do you want to raise the price of oil if you're Joe Biden? You're making the oil companies more money. I thought that we want these oil companies hurt. Why do you want to raise the price of oil? Who's got an idea here? Import taxes? No. Nope, you don't, and they're just going to be happy with supply coming on. Yeah, we finally got a good answer to make us go green. When you drive up oil, it makes green energy seem more affordable, right? It makes it seem cheaper. And and so that is the major driver that we're dealing with here. So, one of the things that I'm going to tell you about is I love oil, but ESG, right? U.S. ESG funds have exploded, right? Who's heard of ESG? All right. Investing, it provides diversification and downside risk. ESG indexes outperform the broad market, right? Green initiatives. All right, right, Frank?
I love this. When you start looking at, to me, the whole ESG play is so counterintuitive, and it's like a lot of things coming out of DC. Believe it or not, there's misinformation, and people think that if you adopt green policy, it's gonna kill mining, it's gonna kill drilling, it's gonna kill all these different things. The fact is, it's gonna cause them to go up. Plain and simple, it has to. I mean, if you look at, as I always say, Mark, is there such a thing as an electric car? No. There's coal. There's cars that run on coal. There's cars that run on nuclear energy. There's no such thing as a true electric car. Something has to produce the energy that car is running on, and that's why you still look. There's some nuclear energy. Ironically, in the Green New Deal, it avoids it like the plague.
No nuclear energy. Yep.
No nuclear energy, so you're still going to rely on fossil fuels to create the energy to power cars. Now, people are going to say, oh, well, no, Frank, we're going to build windmills, we're going to build solar panels, we're going to do all those things that create green energy. Well, that's great, but let's look at some honest stats. Because I think that all these things are going to skyrocket. Here's a couple. To build one wind turbine, just one, requires 900 tons of steel. That's got to be ored out of the ground. 2,500 tons of concrete. Again, you got to process that, dig it out, and 45 tons of non-recyclable plastic. What's the key ingredient in plastic? Petroleum. So to make if you made enough wind turbines to power one major city in the U.S., you're going to be mining for decades. If you look at if you're trying to replace electric vehicles, replace all conventional cars with electric vehicles, the demand for cobalt, lithium, it's going to rise 20-fold. And that doesn't even take into account the backup batteries for the wind and solar grids that you're going to have to put in place. So I see all these things just going up. And you start looking at silver, indium, all of it, all the rare earth. Rare earth mining is going to go up 300,000% over the next 25 years to meet this demand. So don't count out the commodities just because we're going green. I think it's going to be a boom.
So ironically, a name like
and by the way, Gary, I know it's Gary on here. He made a great point. Literally, they can't be recycled. They are filling up landfills. It's nuts.
Yeah, they are, and so I want to point out a name that absolutely has exploded, right? Plug Power, right? And this is one that we've been, and they make hydrogen power, right? But it's years and years away. But yeah, going green means more natural resources. It means you need, the irony is that, Peabody Coal gets a rally because we want people off of petroleum, but at the same time, petroleum gets a rally. So, I want to briefly share my screen.
Hey, while you're doing that, would you mind if I addressed a question on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Don J, do you think cryptos have really replaced gold and will prevent gold from going up? No, I think they're supplementing. I don't think they're replaced. I know people who actually hoard physical gold. They want to have the gold. They believe that when the zombie apocalypse comes, and I don't know if you're going to be able to hit people over the head with a gold bar, but when everything goes down and you're not going to be able to get your crypto out of the Ethernet, you want to have gold. So I don't think it's going to replace it. It's certainly going to supplement it, be another parallel track.
Yeah, oh, for sure. One second, I gotta download the Webinato screen share.
There's some funny people on this webinar.
Well, you know what? The point is, people think that we're trying to have a political discussion. We're not. What we're trying to do is show you that there is a serious connection between Wall Street and K Street, and it creates long-term trading ideas that we can 100% take advantage of. All right, and you know what I'm going to do is let's finish the slides, and then I will run through a couple of trades once I get this screen sharing app loaded up, which apparently Webinato. The emphasis on NATO. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, the electric car sector is interesting, but we're not making a political opinion. All right, what we're doing is giving you the facts on these people and really where there's going to be a benefit. So trading foreign affairs. Yeah, lithium companies, rare earth companies, Peabody Coal. We're all the energy sectors. ExxonMobil's back above 50, folks. Did you know that? WIG? Who's heard of Transocean? Who heard of Transocean? Guess what? We bought a bunch of calls in WIG, which is still only $3.30. All right, $3.50. It's going to 7. It's maybe going to 10. Why? Because they can make money again. All right, does that make sense, folks? Good. So let's go through the Secretary of State.
Yeah, we'll go through this one real quick. Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, another true insider.
Yeah.
Again, suggests a more friendly working relationship with foreign governments, like under the Obama administration. And same thing, Alejandro, Homeland Security. You're gonna another Obama admin guy, and U.S. Trade Rep Kevin Tsai, the top U.S. trade lawyer on China during the Obama administration. So again, revert to the status quo. And I think the next, I put this up here, this slide up because really to lead into the next one. And when you start looking at how some of these picks are going to affect other areas like healthcare, high tech, and defense. All of those things are going to be drastically impacted by these picks. Particularly if we start think about from the defense sector standpoint, which people think defense. What do you think? What do most people think? And I think we got a lot of smart people on this call, so they're probably they're going to know what I'm going to say. It's not always about tanks. It's when you start looking at defense. It's as much about computers, if not more so, than tanks. And particularly if we start having a slightly more cozier relationship with some of the regimes that we have shied away from over the last few years. To do that, we gosh darn better build up our cybersecurity, our cyber defenses, because we cannot engage with these other entities without very secure. Secure firewalls. And healthcare. People ask, I threw up your Medicare for all. Not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. That they don't have the votes, even with the majority, in both houses. It's just not going to happen. Too much of a hot button. But is it going to benefit the stocks that got into the Medicare expansion plans? 100%.
Okay. Yeah, and so that's why, a name that I'm watching closely is UNH, United Healthcare. Now, United Healthcare is, interestingly, the largest stock in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Who knew that? Guys, we're not here to talk politics. We're here to teach you something. And I know that we're kind of touching a hot stove a little bit, but if you don't touch the hot stove a touch, you can't learn that it will burn you, right? Sometimes baby needs to touch the hot stove. So we're here to touch the hot stove for you so you don't have to. So act your age, not my IQ. All right, so UNH is a name that I think is really interesting because you can see once they figured out that Obamacare was here to stay, the stock had what amounts to a 3-year straight run up, just going straight up. All right. Why? Well, they worked with the Obama administration to basically write these laws. All right. And then, we had some friction, we had some trouble. UNH is going to, I think, have a banner year. All right. I actually think the Dow Jones is going to outperform the S&P this year by a lot. All right. In fact, the biggest trade that I've made across all the portfolios that I trade in is I've rolled out of the Dow Jones, out of the S&P 500 and into RSP and DIA. Who here knows what RSP is? Anybody? Anybody ever heard of RSP? It is the equal weighted. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what option I'm going to actually tell you what I think about UNH. All right, and I actually wanted to share my screen, but obviously it's not working. So in UNH, I wouldn't just buy an option, I would sell an option. There is remember, we're still in a period of extremely high volatility. Extremely high volatility. So you've never had such a great opportunity to trade puts. And I think there's a ton of opportunity in puts, a ton of opportunity in selling puts in a name like UNH. So I would be a seller. UNH is trading about $350. Jan 2022, so these expire in a year, 300 puts are $23. $23. Do the math on that yield. That is not bad for being, 15% out of the money. You're collecting about $8. RSP, this is one that I wrote up in my blog last week. I think RSP is about to take off. So remember, here's the key to RSP and why I like it better. Every quarter, RSP rebalances its ETFs that it holds. So what it does is that at the beginning of the quarter, it holds XLK, XLE, XLI, all of those individual sector ETFs equally. Then at the end of the quarter, obviously some outperform, some underperform, right? Within those individual ETFs, it's still cap weighted. So when you buy consumer discretionary, you're still only really buying Apple and Tesla. When you buy XLK, you're buying Microsoft and Intel and those names. All right, in the same weighting, but you're equal weighting across. Then it lets them run for the quarter as is, and then at the end of the quarter, it sells the stuff that's outperformed and buys the stuff that underperformed to rebalance the portfolio. So what it was doing at the end of last quarter was selling XLK and XLY, consumer discretionary, and buying XLE and XLF. Hey, who's the new Treasury Secretary? Would you say they're a banking insider? Frank?
They are the consummate insider.
Yeah. And they're constricting oil. They want to constrict oil production, and oil's going up. You've got activist EPA people.
Green New Deal.
Gee, and that was all announced at the end of the year, right leading into the beginning of the year, right? And
that's correct.
And what are the two best sectors for the beginning of the year so far? Oh, wow. See? You see how we can actually put pieces together? It's a puzzle, folks. Anyway, UNH, I like selling the Jan 2022 300 puts. In RSP, all right, I'm looking at the February 133 calls for about $2.70. Against those, I would sell the 138 calls at 70 cents. That's a $2 spread that returns on a $5 spread. I think RSP is going to be 136, 137, maybe 138 by the end of February. So that's my play there. What's this? What symbol I'm talking about? I'm talking about RSP. RSP. All right. Uber. A lot of people love Uber, and I point out this yellow dot. Who knows why I circled this yellow space right here? Vertical is RSP. It's Feb. RSP, Feb 133, 138 call spread. I'm typing that in for you folks. All right. Why did I circle the November election for Uber? What happened on that day? Who's got an idea? No, it didn't hit support. California, right? Remember Prop 22 that Frank brought up? What happened? What's Prop 22, Frank?
Prop 22 was a move to the Uber drivers out in California wanted to unionize. Prop 22 did not let them. Actually reversed their unionization.
Okay, and so it kept them as independent contractors and not employees.
Correct.
And so they couldn't unionize, and Uber has gone straight up, Lyft the same. Now, didn't you bring up a labor secretary that is super pro-union?
Yeah, look, that was done in California. That was not done at the federal level, and you're going to see an across-the-board move to go after some of these. I think the gig economy is in a lot of trouble from a unionization standpoint, from a taxation standpoint, from, as you pointed out, which is going to drive the baseline of it, from the standpoint of these people being declared independent contractors versus employees. You're going to see massive pushes. The irony is when you listen to Uber and Lyft drivers, the majority of them don't want it.
Yeah.
The federal government, in its infinite wisdom, is going to decide what's best for them and force them into a situation where they're employees and not independent contractors. Once they become employees, it's going to be easy for the unions to step in. So much easier to unionize nowadays if they're given free rein. Particularly with social media, it makes it super easy to organize groups of employees. So they'll be able to step in a much more efficient manner and go after these people.
Okay, that's interesting. So, and Uber is sitting at an all-time high. Lyft is sitting at an all-time high. Hey, and DoorDash blew up. Airbnb is an interesting one. I don't know. That one's I got to think about a little more, right?
Look, they're not popular. If you look in the travel and tourism area, which, by the way, I think is going to start doing much better as we move into the middle of the year.
Mm-hmm.
When you start having COVID restrictions lifting, travel lifting, people have been sitting in their houses. They want to get out, and they've been sitting on some excess cash if they're travelers, and they want to move. So I think you're going to see a move, but also, if you look at the big hotels that are being hurt by Airbnb, what are the big hotels already? Most of them are already unionized.
Yeah.
Most of the big hotels have unionized workforces. Most of the big hotels have those wages that are that $15 an hour and up wage. So this is where the government wants to push people. Airbnb scares them because it hurts those unionized workers.
So Uber, you're going to start hearing these rumors really soon. I think right around the time that the NLRB rolls over. When they get that 3 Democratic majority, that rumor is going to start hitting, and it's going to start being a serious issue. All right? And the way you're going to want to be looking at things is longer term with Uber. What I call a bear trap. All right, a bear trap. Now, there's good bears like Steve, right? Steve's a good teddy bear, good guy to hug. But then there's, what I call bear traps, which is when we try and set up an inexpensive trade to catch a stock getting smoked. And I think Uber is a classic example that we can set up a cheap, inexpensive butterfly in like January of 2022 and do exceptionally well. So for instance, it's $56, $57. If they start proposing this stuff, you are talking about Uber, the $30 company again, at least until they can really push out their automated car. If they can't get an automated car going, you have a problem. All right. So what I would be looking at, and I wish I could show you this, but I'm having problems with the screen sharing, is a really inexpensive trade, right? I can go out to Jan 2022 and I can buy the 40 put for $3.95, sell the 30 put twice for $1.40, and I can buy a 20 put for about 30 cents. All told, I'm paying about $1.45 for a put, for my little put, making a bet that Uber is going to drop back down to that level. And the time I'm going to put this on is when they roll over the NLRB, right? When they officially announce the second guy, the second person that's going to be put up. That is when I'm going to do that. Make sense? What strike? So I buy one of the 40 puts in Jan 2022. All right, I sell two of the 30s, and I buy one of the 20s, all puts. Pay about $1.45 for that spread. All right, Frank, you're still with me, right?
Right here, sir.
Yeah, you froze on the screen a little bit, but now.
I don't know what.
Rough day for, we should have had you come down here and then present with me. That would have been fun.
Next steps.
Palantir. This is a surveillance and information systems company. Defense. Why don't you talk a little bit about defense? Yeah, I'll write it down. Yeah.
So if you look at the defense sector, Trump put a lot into the defense sector over the last 4 years, a whole lot. But he really did what I call brick and mortar defense. Kind of same old ship, same old vehicle, same old aircraft.
Same old ship, folks. Ship, he said.
And to some degree at the expense of emerging technologies. And we look. I've got a lot of contacts in the military technology community, and people are very scared that we're falling behind China from a technology standpoint. Look at some of the cyber attacks that have taken place over the last couple of months. We are getting hammered. So we really need to step up, and they're attacking every aspect of the United States. From heck, they attacked the Fed,
Yeah.
Down to more personal companies. So we've really got to step up from a cyber standpoint. And so I think a lot of these a lot of these cyber stocks are going to do quite well. A lot of what I would call these soft defense areas are going to do very well over the coming decade.
Anybody ever heard of a company called CrowdStrike? Yeah. So while they might be controversial, it's gone straight up, and they are absolutely a fan. The DNC uses them, has a close relationship with them. Biden has a close relationship with them. they are in and out all over the defense sector in cybersecurity with, you know, a crowd. I like Palantir. I like them both. Palantir basically spies on everything you do. CrowdStrike, kind of the same thing. Those are both really interesting names. Palantir, the one I have here, and I was going to show you this again. I'll write it down for you guys in chat. So Palantir, a trade I like owning it, and I like being long it. It is going to go, it's going back to 30, I think, in no time. I am a buyer of like the Feb 27 calls for $2.45, and I'm a seller of the 34 calls at $1. $1.45 for a 7-point vertical. Super inexpensive. I really like it. I think it's going. I think it's going a lot higher. It's one I like a ton. So that is one that I absolutely think is gonna skyrocket. In a couple portfolios, I actually am using a put selling strategy to try and get long. This is a high volatility stock. So think about this. I can sell, the stock's trading $25. The May 16 put, I collect $1.60 on that. That's 10% yield on a May option that is 30% out of the money. That's like 20% annualized, and I'm 30% out of the money. The PLTR is the Feb 27 34 call spread. All right. And now here's Northrop Grumman. And you know what stocks have not done well over the last few months? Or the last few weeks since Biden got in? Defense, like real defense, normal defense. If I pulled up Raytheon, even though the chairman, the new DOJ person, worked for Raytheon, right? If I pull up Raytheon, I pull up Northrop, I pull up... He was on the board. I'm sorry. He was on the board of Raytheon. Even though if I pull up Northrop, I pull up Lockheed, I pull up Raytheon, the chart looks almost exactly the same. Just not, you know, trending lower. Trending lower. I think some of the big defense names, Boeing, Lockheed, Northrop, Raytheon, they may have some tough times coming. General Dynamics, they may have some tough times coming. All right, now, I'm going to show you what I think is the most important chart for 2021, and that is VIX. All right, the VIX. The VIX is trading about 23 today, folks. It's closed around 23. And what I think is really important that you understand is how much is the market, is the S&P 500 actually moving right now? How much is the S&P 500 actually moving right now? Anybody know? Little, right. So the VIX is 23, and the realized volatility, that's basically how much the S&P is moving, all right? How much the S&P is moving is, over the last 20 days, is 10%. Can the VIX stay at a 2.3x of S&P movement forever? What do you guys think? And again, I want to apologize for the sound, but I'm going to make it up to you guys. All right, I apologize for the sound. No, it can't. So one of two things has to happen. Volatility has to pick up, or VIX has to drop. And the answer is both. The answer is both. VIX right now, in the near term, needs to drop. It needs to drop like now. All right? But once it gets to, it is going to break 20 at some point. Once it breaks 20, we are going to see some sort of volatility event that will cause it to go back up. But the VIX is going to be, you might as well just call it the DC index and not the S&P volatility index. Because when excitement happens in DC, excitement happens on VIX. So on January 20th, some interesting things happen. January 20th, what day is that? What day is that? Why is that an important day? Anybody know?
I know.
I know you do. Right, it's inauguration. Right. But it's also another important day. It's another important day. You guys know what expires on that morning. What expires on the morning of Wednesday, January 20th? Yeah, well, what options? So options expire in the morning on a Wednesday. What could possibly expire then? Not SPX. SPX expires at night. VXX expires at night, but close. VIX. VIX options and VIX futures expire on the 20th. Does any, historically, all right, and I wrote about this on my blog last night. Here, I'm going to pull this up in the co-browser so you guys can see it. I don't know if this works or not. It doesn't. All right. www. Yeah, it doesn't. All right. So VIX expires on that Wednesday when a contract becomes the front month. So February will become the front month contract. When the new contract becomes the first contract, there is always a ton of pressure. So we're going to have inauguration, and we're going to have January rolling off and February rolling on. VXX is going to get smoked. UVXY is going to get absolutely smoked. VIX futures are going to get smoked. Next week, we could see the, as a percentage move, a surprisingly strong move lower in UVXY, VXX, and VIX options. How do you trade VIX? That's actually something I'm going to discuss here. So I am a huge proponent. This is not my COVID trade, but a trade that I wrote up on my blog, and we put out a similar one to our subs, was the Feb 23 puts versus the 19 puts. All right, the put spread. We paid $1.71. So right now you can pay about $1.70 to go along the VIX Feb 23 19 put spread for $1.70. All right. That is a trade that I put out in my service. We're gonna, if you want to hear about it, I bought it. If you want to hear about inflation, I'm going to have something for you tomorrow. Today. All right. So we run a product where we use the combined knowledge of our macro picture, right? Like, how many firms have a macro DC guy working for them, right? Why? Because we want to be better than everybody. All right. I use Frank's macro analysis in how I trade VIX. All right. And I have a product that helps me trade VIX. Remember, I worked for the firm that invented VIX, or invented VIX options. Really, I'm not kidding you. All right. And so I put out a vol trade one or twice a week. All right. And I have a proprietary system we call our option traffic light that tells you what the VIX and S&P are going to do based on, my system that I built in my hedge fund. I do a weekly video update. You get exact entries and exits texted directly to you and emailed directly to you. And I've built a specialized, customized volatility course. All right. I've taken the guesswork out of volatility. My team has. All right. We're spoon feeding you what we think are our best trades. You'll know exactly what to do, and it's easy to understand and precise because we give you our entry, we give you when we're exiting via text, via email. Trades like that one. All right. And here's the best part. After Joe Biden's inauguration, Frank and I are going to do a special behind the paywall where his sound will in fact work and you'll see him the whole time. Frank and I are going to do a special post-inaugural session where we're going to dig into every single sector, winners and losers, across the board. We're going to develop option trades. We're going to be at it for, a really long period of time. We did one for a group of people behind our paywall, on the 7th, and made them a ton of money. So what I'm offering is 1/4 of our Volatility Edge product. All right, and it is only $4.99 for the quarter. Why does VIX options expiration make VIX go down? Because you have the natural rolling process of the VIX ETPs, and you have different funds that are running different types of strategies that actually naturally put pressure. And then you have, when they see a big spread between VIX futures and the VIX, you have BDs, broker-dealers, and hedge funds that go in and actually slam VIX futures, which pushes VIX lower. Right? So we're giving you 1 to 2 trades like the one that I brought up just now. You're going to get a special session with me, our educational course, and then we have a program I call Omaha Trades with Warren Market. Get it? Mark Sebastian, Warren Market. And we do it quarterly. And it is a portfolio of long-dated, that it basically is built on a Warren Buffett portfolio. All right. So the trades are sent out during the market day. Well, the economy inflation, we're actually hitting on, what I think in terms of inflation is that we've got a bunch coming, right? We're about to put a huge infrastructure spend on. We're about to put as the economy opens up, and this is the big thing, we're sending people a bunch of money as we're starting to get vaccinated. And the economy is going to open up, and then we're going to do a $2 trillion spend, right? Inflation's going up. Now, what will stop it from going up is we have the queen and king of the helicopter in the Fed, all right? And that's not, not a political commentary, but both of them are very loose monetary. So we can issue debt as long as the Fed is buying it. If they throttle back on buying debt, that's when you'll get inflation. All right, so the Volatility Edge product, and I'm going to give you my COVID trade, but before we do that, Frank and I have a special bonus trade. All right, if you shoot me an email and Frank an email, so you got to email both of us, mark@optionpit.com, frank@optionpit.com. We will send you a bonus trade just for being here in the morning. All right. I'm also going to invite you to my midday webinar. Tomorrow I'm doing a midday webinar with Frank and a guy named Bill Griffo, who's a bond trader. And we're going to talk about a little more on the Treasury, a little more on government. We're going to dig into inflation, reflation, gold, treasuries, Bitcoin, and we're going to talk a little more on volatility. But I'm also going to have a volatility edge trade tomorrow. I've got one all lined up. And if you want to get on that trade and you want to get access to the special, and then the one tomorrow is a free one we're doing for open and public. But if you want to get in on the special one that we're doing with Frank and myself, where we're going to give you, what I think are probably what? How many trades did we dig into last time? Frank, do you remember?
Well over half dozen.
Yeah, really good ideas. And we're going to make you a ton of money. All right. To equal now. So someone's saying, why couldn't you equalize the balls? Because I'm holding up a phone to get the sound. So it's my microphone and him talking out of my phone. We'll have equalized balls tomorrow. And here's our emails. It's mark@optionpit.com for the free trade. And it's frank@optionpit.com. You email both of us and we'll send you a trade in the morning. All right, and now you're finally asking, okay, Mark, where's my COVID trade? Where's my Biden trade? And I'm going to give you a COVID Biden trade all in one. All right, and it is a little company called CVS. Anybody ever heard of CVS?
Love them.
Yeah, they fill my prescription for Propecia. Frank doesn't need that. I do. So there's a lot more to CVS than a lot of people realize, because it's not just a drugstore. They own Aetna. Aetna is a big, giant United Healthcare type insurance company, right? What did I say? What did we say was going to happen with healthcare? Oh, it's not going to be Medicare for all, but it's going to be expansion through the insurance companies, right?
100%.
Yeah. Aetna owns, I love WBA. I love WBA as well. All right. They own Aetna. They own Caremark. They own a drug delivery service. They own drugstores. And in their drugstores, they have registered nurse practitioners. All right. Now, can you get your COVID shot, your COVID vaccine from Teladoc or Roman? Can I go on Roman when I'm getting my Propecia and those other pills? Can I get a COVID vaccine? No, I have to go to the store. I have to go to the store, folks. So I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get my COVID vaccine. I have to wait for 15 or 20 minutes while they make sure I don't have any effects. I'm going to walk around the store. It's going to be easy to go in or out of those CVS clinics, right? My son gets sick, and I take him to CVS. Oh, and you're saying, well, supermarkets are doing the COVID vaccine too. Guess what? Guess where CVS is? CVS is the healthcare provider for all of Target. So when you go to Target, you're going to CVS. CVS is going to make a blasted killing off of giving a $5 COVID shot, because people are going to buy more in the stores. They're going to come back, because you have to come back twice. And if it's an annual shot, you're going to need to go there. They're going to realize how easy it is. All right? They're going to realize how easy it is to get to get in and out of those clinics. They're going to come there when they have other things. Oh, hey, why don't you get a flu shot? CVS is going to 100. At least 90. All right? And so I think that you're going to really have seen the effects of all the COVIDness by Q2. So they're going to, when they're getting ready for Q2 earnings, we'll have seen how much money they've made off of COVID. And so a trade I would do is the August, you could do May as well. All right, the August 75 calls are about $6.30. The 95 calls are $1.25. So you're paying right about $5, $5.05, to get long a call that is at the money and sell a call that is $20 out of the money. And I'll write this trade out. This is so they're issuing COVID, and they're going to benefit from Medicare expansion, from healthcare, Medicaid expansion. They're going to make money in all kinds of ways, and drug delivery. So I'm looking at the CVS August 75-95 call spread for 505. That trade on its own, if I do a one lot, is going to pay for my quarter of volatility edge. All right. Oh, and guess what? I got one more little bonus for you. If you email me and Frank for our secret trade, we're not only going to invite you to the webinar, but Frank runs a special free commentary that we're putting out called Power Moves. All right. Power Moves is this type of political markets insight sent to you every week. Rig is already searching. I think Rig is going to be $7 by by the end of March. So there you have it, folks. I'd really like to see you guys join my Volatility Edge service. You get the free session with me and Frank. We're going to be adding a live weekly session with me, like a half an hour a week, live, to ask me questions, starting next month. And you're going to get all these all these awesome trades. All right, and you try it for a week or two and you hate it, I'll give you your money back anyway. So what do you have to lose? Frank at optionpit.com. All right, well, I'm sure I got it. All right, so again, we're here to be political, but we needed to talk politics.
Actually, Mark, I believe I'm F. Gregory at
Oh, that's it. I'm sorry. It's F. Gregory. That's why. Sorry about that, folks. That's my fault. So, email him fgregory at optionpit.com. And then it will get to him. So email both of those to me and to Frank. And, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Again, I know this was a little controversial, but I'll take any more questions you have. All right, guys, have a great night. We're looking forward to you. Hopefully we'll see you in our volatility stuff, and hopefully we'll see you in our session tomorrow. And hopefully email me and we'll send you that free trade. Can I type in the UNH trade again? It was the UNH Jan 2022 300 put at 23. The price is $499 for the quarter. All right, so $130 a month. Right? No, $160 a month. You'll make it, and again, I think you'll make your money back real fast on that CVS trade. Hard to watch market today. It won't be, because the nice thing is we send you the email, we send you the text. We're doing the Feb. I did the Feb. I know. Well, you know, everybody, I do most of my trading on my phone now. So I get a text and I go into my app and I do my trade. It's not hard. That makes sense? All right, guys. Again, sorry about the sound issues. I did not give you my rig trade. Maybe if you email me, you'll get my rig trade. UNH is not going down. I was selling that put. I think UNH is going up. CBS is going up too. Everything healthcare. What platform did I use? I use about four or five different platforms. I am platform neutral. I have a TD, Fidelity, Schwab, LiveVol. Do I record the webinars during market hours? Yes. Yeah, no, I'm selling that. I'm a seller of that put. We record everything. All right, so you want that bonus trade? Shoot me and Frank an email. And get in on our volatility edge. Why not buy a call? Because I think that I like the yield on that UNH. Vol's really high. You can buy a call. I like calls better in CDS, where I think it's not as slow of a burn for them to make money off of you know, what's going on right now. UNH is just a general. I think it's going to keep going higher, meandering. I think CBS is going to blow higher. You buy calls when you think a stock is going to go up. You sell puts when you think a stock won't go down. There's a difference. What is my view on Bitcoin? I'm not going to dig into Bitcoin. Write what down? You buy calls when you think a stock is going to go up. You sell puts when you think a stock won't go down. You like that, guys? All right. Well, cool, everybody. I hope everybody has a great night and a great evening, and I will talk to you guys soon. Again, sorry about the sound. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Frank. Everybody, take a look at his products. Again, it's going to give you a much more concise perspective on what to be looking for here in the future. So, Mark, excellent. Frank, thank you. Sorry for the problems. We'll see everybody in the chat rooms.